Visit abaeservices.com for fast medical transcription service. This podcast episode is brought to you by AB Music Creative.
Yung sinabi mo kanina, back door. Someone leaves the back door open, whether it's intellectual property, whether it's physically your back door, or you know what I mean? How frustrating can it be? Because pagdating ng part na yon, now you're looking for a cure to fix a dumb move that someone actually did.
Right. Yeah, and I wouldn't say it's just one person. You know, within the entire security parameter of an organization or even a house, right? You lock your front door every night.
Yes.
Right? Do you leave the back door open?
Dapat hindi, di ba?
Right? Do you leave the windows open? You know, I think coming from that concept, it's important. Well, how do I know the back door's open? Our location is so big. Call it checking it. You know, do the rounds. That's why you hire security guards.
Yes.
And my biggest frustration is when we go to organizations and say, oh, that's security's job. And we say security is everyone's job, right? You got congregants.
No?
You got congregants here. You have people going to church. You have people going to school. You have people coming to work at a supermarket. You know, the least you can do is at least, right, fix those errors, those human errors, and a lot of them are human errors.
Yeah.
When you talk about cybersecurity, it's the same thing, right? It takes one person to click that phishing link, and your entire computer system
Wala na.
has ransomware.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 na nga yung password mo. Klinik mo pa yung phishing link.
Password 1, 2, 3. So, you know, he's changing already. He's changing his password.
How do you know, right?
Yeah, you know, again, it's the same concept, right?
Yeah.
Who is the weakest link in your security chain? It's a human being. We can all be socially engineered. People can fool you. People can call you from Nigeria and tell you you won $10 billion and you have to send $1 million to them in order to collect the $10 billion. People still fall for it. Today, people still fall for it, right? So it's very important that organizations understand, you know, they are only as good as their weakest link when it comes to security. You can have cameras, because the first thing people ask us is, how many cameras should we put up? I go, forget the cameras. How many people should you train? I think that's the more important thing. You should have some policies and procedures. You should follow them, follow up.
Does your company create policies and procedures for organizations?
We
or?
do. We do.
Okay.
We do. And I didn't want to turn this into a sales thing.
No.
This more goes to the human nature that we really have to address. It's really training human beings, you know, how to spot, how to assess, right? And then how to keep their organization safe. It's very, very important, right? And I am a part of this group called InfraGuard, which is it's called InfraGuard. It's infrastructure protection. It is an FBI program. And I am one of the government sector chairs for that, for Los Angeles. So we cover 7 counties all over LA. And we do provide a lot of training to everyone within the critical infrastructure sectors. Schools, museums, energy sector, entertainment sector. And we provide a lot of this education to those members for free. And it's free to join.
Uy!
It's free to join. I mean,
Dapat sumali tayo sa ganun.
You just have to pass the FBI background check.
Ayun.
That's the caveat.
Papasa tayo dun. Oh,
That's a caveat. But again, it's really good. We have hospitals, we have school administrators that are part of it. And it really does bring together the private and the public sector so that they can learn from other best practices. There are things you can do for free. You don't have to spend $1 million in a security system. There are things you can do for free, like shut the door. I mean,
duh.
And then you have to explain to them why. Why, right? What to look out for, you know, what surveillance looks like. What, you know, if you look at the Buffalo shooting, that kid was a white kid walking in a, you know, ethnic neighborhood, pretending to be homeless, and nobody noticed. I'm sure people noticed, right? You know, he was just doing surveillance. That's what he was doing. Right? He was scoping out the place. He drew a map. He did a lot of things to plan this attack.
It wasn't a spur of the moment. Let me shoot some people.
No, we have a saying, nothing happens in a vacuum. Right? Every one of these criminals, active shooters, terrorists, they go through a whole cycle. Right? It starts with identifying your target, doing surveillance, deciding which one you want to hit, and then doing a dry run, and then actually attacking, and then escaping. So they really, whether they like it or not, they have to go through this process. There's no checklist. Right?
Kumbaga parang innate yung process na yun. No?
Absolutely. It's built in. Every criminal does it when they're planning to do something. They all do it. Smash and grabbers, they do it. They know where they're going to go on their phone. They go, oh, here's the parking lot. Here's the store. Here's the jewelry store. You can do it, right? You can go on Google.
Oculars, Google Maps.
So, they would use that to identify their targets, and then they would actually drive around and do surveillance and see, is there a security guard? Is he armed? These are things that the bad guys do all the time. And it's up to us as the good guys to teach the other good guys that's what that looks like. Now, he hasn't committed a crime yet, so what can I do?
Yeah, I was going to ask.
Right?
Thank you for...
There's nothing you can really do, but you show force.
How?
You show that you took down their license plate. You show to them that you're keeping an eye out. You're not the security guard on the phone watching the basketball game or playing Nintendo or whatever, Tetris, right? So pay attention to your surroundings.
Yeah.
It's very important because there's no point having a security guard there who's just watching soccer or basketball all the time, right? So keeping an eye out. And for everybody else that is part of that organization, it's also their job. You see a weird guy in your parking lot, report it. Yeah, he might not doing anything, illegal, right? But at the end of the day, at least you're letting people know you're watching out.
Pero, okay, question. When you report it, like ako personally, I'm under the impression that if I report it and it's benign, feeling ko yun lang ginagawa ng police department. Parang, okay, whatever.
You did your part and there's a record that you reported it. And that's important.
Okay.
Right? And that's what I tell people all the time. Well, they never do anything. I understand it's frustrating. They're not going to come to you and say, hey, Paco, can you be part of this investigation? We need you to go undercover. That's not going to happen. You're not going to get a fruit basket. You're not going to get a thank you card. Right? You might get a phone call back. You might not. But as long as you file the report, right, there's a record of it. And you make a record of it as well. Because if something does happen, it boils down to one word. Liability.
Yeah.
Who's liable?
Now it's them.
Correct.
Because I reported it. Yeah.
Right? And if you own that facility or you are the person who owns that program for that organization, you own the threat. You own it. You be super kulit. And you keep calling and putting reports in. The guy keeps coming by doing surveillance. There's nothing fancy about our building to be photographed, right? These are all signs and pre-incident indicators of pre-attack surveillance. You just gotta really own it, and be kulit and kulit, make them kulit.
Grabe,
they can't arrest you for being kulit.
Yeah.
Right? They can't.
The same token, you can't arrest them for being kulit either.
You can't.
So stalemate until someone makes a move.
Until they notice that you notice them, right? It is totally frustrating because there's nothing you can do, as you said, pre-crime.
Yeah.
They have to actually commit a crime in order to be arrested. So,
dang.